up, YouTubers? Listen, I have a surprise for you guys that have been following my channel. Those of you that are subscribers, make sure that you subscribe and make sure that you check back my channel often to see new posts and new videos and things like that I'll be releasing to you guys. I know it's been a while since I released a video, but I got a special treat for you guys today. I am right now in Virginia, and I'm about to take a very, very unique train experience, and I wanted to take you guys with me on this train experience. And right behind those all those trees and bushes and stuff that you see there on the fence, there is a very, very unique train that you guys probably don't get an opportunity to see much of or experience. So I'm going to take you on a trip with me on this unique train, and just in a few minutes I'll show you. When I get over there, I'll show you exactly what train that is. It's very unique. I'm going to be vlogging the entire time, so you guys will have a full person view of the entire trip. So stay tuned. By the way, those of you who are subscribed, make sure that you turn your notifications on, so that when I upload new videos, that you guys will be contacted, so you guys will know that there's new content for me. Those of you who are not tech savvy or YouTube savvy, just check back at my channel frequently, because I usually post at least one video a month. With my schedule, it's pretty hectic. I'm gonna try to do better, but at least one video a month in there. If you notice, look at my content, all my videos are pretty unique, pretty extraordinary. So just stay tuned, and remember, subscribe if you haven't, check back, and those of you who are subscribed, make sure you turn your post notifications on. I got a super surprise for you guys. We're gonna head over there now, and I'll be right with you in a few seconds. So here we are, guys, on the platform. It's still a couple hours before we leave, but you know, from here it looks like a typical Amtrak train trip, huh? What do you think? Looks like a typical Amtrak train trip. Let me tell you guys, hardly that. This is a very unique experience in terms of railroad travel. So you guys just hang tight, and I will take you moment by moment throughout this trip and give you snips and clips of what this train has in store. Hey guys, this is not your typical Amtrak trip that I'm about to embark on, and I wanted to bring you guys with me. Be sure to turn on your post notifications. Those of you who are subscribed, those of you who are not tech savvy or YouTube savvy, make sure that you check the channel regularly for updated videos. But this is a unique experience in rail travel in the United States, and actually in the world. I'm on a unique train. There's only one of its kind in the country and in the world that I know of. Those of you who know of one, you can maybe post some in the comments, but there's only one train in the world that does what this train does. And I'll give you a hint at what this train does special or unique in a second. All right, folks, it is time for the big reveal. I told you guys I would take you on a unique experience, and you guys have probably been wondering, what is this unique experience? What is this unique train that there's only one of a kind in the US? Or actually, there's only one of these trains actually that I'm aware of in the world that does what this train does. So you're probably wondering what train that is. It's only one that does what this train does. This train actually is the longest passenger train in the world. You can probably guess which train it is. And people have really spoke very highly of experiences they've had on this train, because it's just so unique, and it runs down the coast in the United States. As I said, I'm currently in Lorton, Virginia, and this is home of the, yep, that's it. This is the beginning of the auto train. This is the auto train that goes from Lorton, Virginia to Sanford, Florida, which is just outside of Orlando. And this train in particular is a superliner train. and I'll be bringing you footage from it. The train is Amtrak's longest train. It spans about 16, somewhere between 16 to 18 Superliner cars, and anywhere from 18 to 35, 40 auto carriers, depending on the demand. And you put all that together, you got a heck of a train. And it's usually headed up by 2 Amtrak P42s. And you're probably wondering, is that enough power? Let me tell you folks, that is plenty. The P42s are no slouch to power or performance. I actually took this train last year, and on the acceleration front, this train accelerates for the most part like any other train would accelerate. It doesn't take the P42s long to get this heavy train up into speed. It's a very unique experience. And what's interesting about this train is that it makes only one stop in roughly 800-900 miles of the trip. I'll get you the exact numbers on that, but it only makes one stop, and that's a crew change and also a service stop. And I believe that's in Florence, South Carolina. Don't quote me on that. I'll get you the details when I get them. I got a lot of information running through my head right now, but yes, it makes one stop. So this is pretty much an express train from Washington DC to Orlando, in a sense. So you can take your car along. So there's people that have motorcycles, there's people that have minivans, smart cars, whatever. You bring your car along, and there are plenty of coaches. I believe there's 4 diners on this train. I think there's 2 on each. There's 2 diners next to each other that are on the front end and on the back end. This train does not turn around because there's no place to turn it around. So they just essentially switched the P42s from one end to the next. The same thing with the auto carriers at each destination point. So the train is not yet put together. What you see there is some auto carriers on the side there, and you see the passenger consist there. It's not quite loading time yet, but when it is, I'll take you guys on board. My fiance and I actually have a bedroom, and it's going to be pretty unique. You guys have never seen a bedroom. I'll give you a glimpse into the inside of a bedroom and what the first class experience is all about. But yeah, this is a pretty unique train. We did it last year. We loved it. So we said, you know what, we'll just make it a yearly thing. So this time I'm bringing you guys with. So come on, let's go. Let's go jump on the auto train. Here's a much better view of some of the auto carriers on the track there, 2 tracks over, and then you can see our consist right there straight ahead. They're still loading food in the diners. They're still cleaning up from this morning. This consist actually came in this morning. It left Florida last night and got in here this morning, and it doubles back, and it got in this morning as train 52, and it doubles back, and it's going to be train number 53 heading south to Florida. And when it leaves here, it is going to be quite a train. You're looking at probably close to maybe 40 cars, which is pretty intense when you consider over half of those being auto carriers, which are pretty long. It's a pretty long train. It's the longest passenger train in the world. Longest one in the United States is Amtrak's longest train, and it's I believe it's Amtrak's only express train, or what could be considered as an express train, an overnight long distance train with only one stop. So it's a pretty unique train. The people that are on this train are actually bringing their vehicles along for the ride too. So you got you sitting back in either a coach seat, or you sitting on a couch in the bedroom, relaxing, looking out the window, and just going for a wonderful ride. And know that your vehicle is also on board with you. So when you get down to Florida, when we get down there in the morning, we all have our vehicles with us. So we just wait for them to unload our vehicles and we will be off and running. So pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Make sure that you guys subscribe if you haven't already. Again, if those of you who have subscribed, make sure that you turn on your post notifications so that you get notified when I upload new videos. Those of you who are clueless of what I'm talking about and not real internet or YouTube savvy, just make sure that you check back at my channel regularly for new updates. I try to present you guys with pretty unique content. There's a lot of content creators out there putting great railroad material out there, but I try to stick to really unique experiences for you guys that is not very common. So make sure that you check back regularly for those videos and those updates. And pretty soon we should be seeing our power for our southbound trip arrive, because it looks like we're going to be out of here in the next maybe couple hours. So I'll try to get when our power is coming and it arrives, I'll try to get that when they couple the P42s to the front of the consoles. I'll make sure that I capture that for you guys. Stay tuned. So here we are, guys. Power's not yet here, but I thought that I would take a minute to say, make sure that you guys comment. You know, there's a lot of questions that a lot of rail fans have, and there's a lot of comments that rail fans would like to make. And just know that when you comment on any of my videos, that if you look at all of my videos, I respond to each and every comment, each and every question. If you have questions about anything, you can ask your questions there, just right below this video. Just type in your comments or your questions or your concerns, or just get the discussion started. So anything that you guys feel, you know, you want to discuss or talk about or ask, feel free to do that. Now, that aside, one thing that I noticed that is unique about this train, for those of you who've never been on it, is this train actually handles really like a freight train. And what I mean by handle, I'm talking about as far as like slack action and slack and stretching goes. This train, for the most part, and I'll show you guys once we get on board, typically what happens is in a train, when you first start out, depending on how the train was stopped, but when you first start out, if the train was stopped with by dragging the brakes or lapping the brakes, then you have a situation where the train is stretched already. So when you start it again, it's already stretched. So what will end up happening is that slack or that stretching will end up closing up. The draw pins will end up drawing up together and removing that slack from between the cars. And a lot of times you'll notice that when you're on trains that they're taking off, and you feel like it's almost like it's a little push in the back, like it's an engine in the back pushing you. That's the slack running out, or however you want to say, running in on the cars. It was stretched, and now that slack is ran in once the train has got up to speed and no more acceleration or power is being applied. This train is very, very unique because these cars here, these auto carrier cars, they actually present quite a bit of drag on the train. So the train, for the most part, stays stretched the entire time. It very rarely, except for braking, does the slack run in or does the slack close up. And I'll show you guys that when we get on board. I'll show you that between the cars, you'll see how the train, for the most part, stays stretched the entire trip. So that's one of the unique things that I'll show you guys once we get on board. See, it looks like they're finishing up watering the cars, and it looks like the power will be showing up here shortly. If you look at the front of the train, you can tell that it doesn't look like the traditional diaphragm on the end of the superliner, and the reason for that is that P42s are short in comparison to Amtrak equipment height. The P42s are pretty short, which is one of the things that made them unique. However, that presents a problem when coupled directly to superliners in this respect, because the superliners are taller and the doors to go from car to car on the upper level. So now you have an issue with diesel exhaust coming inside of the train through the doors on the end of the cars. So on the auto train, as I said, they don't turn this train around like a traditional train would go around a Y and turn around and head back. This train doesn't do that. What this train does is its locomotives are uncoupled from the other end, and they're now, you know, the P42s are back to back, and now they're brought around to this end for the southbound journey. So the consist isn't turned around, so they had to come up with something to create, you know, or prevent the diesel exhaust from coming into the cars. And they put this like a metal, it's like a metal or aluminum plate over the door with a window, so you still can see out. But that's what that door is there. On the other end, what you have is what you would have on our traditional Amtrak Superliner train. You would have the transition sleeping car, which doesn't have a door on the upper level, so you don't have that issue. As you can tell, you can hear our power. It's arriving. The transition sleeper on the other end, the door is at the bottom, so you don't have an issue with you know, smoke coming inside the cars. So it looks like we got 814 on the front and 837 on the rear. Though that's our power for our trip down south to Florida. Again, those two P42s, about 4,250 horsepower each. The second one will be a little less because it'll provide auxiliary power for the consist, for the train, for the lights and the air conditioning and toilets and things like that. But it'll still be able to produce quite a bit of output in terms of tractive effort for pulling the train. And that's more than enough power. Those engines have what some of the Burlington Northern Santa Fe and CSX and Union Pacific freight locomotives have it in terms of power, diesel power. It's the same engine as some of those engines, just a little bit different gearing in terms of the traction for higher speed. So yeah, it seems like this train is underpowered, and people comment about that quite a bit, but it has plenty of power, I can assure you. These superliners, by the way, they don't provide a whole lot of resistance or weight. They may be big, but they're not real heavy, and they don't provide a whole bunch of resistance. So though this train is 16, 17, 18, I haven't counted yet, superliners long, it's a long train, but the superliners don't provide a whole lot of resistance or weight for the engines. Essentially all of the weight is right there in those things. Those auto carriers, they present, as I said earlier, they present quite a bit of drag on the train in terms of weight, and that's where really all of the weight is at the rear of the train with the auto carriers. I'm not sure how many we have on today, but as soon as I get that info, I will make sure that I update you guys. not gonna go all the way until it hooks. He'll make a couple stops prior to that for safety. There's some safety stops that he'll have prior to making the hitch with the consist. There you have it, folks. We've got power. Here I am at the second, the end of the second superliner. So it's 2 superliners to where I'm at now, and this is the 3rd one. And I'll see if I can give you guys a quick idea. Well, I don't know how quick it's going to be, but give you guys an idea of how long this thing is. The superliners themselves are pretty long, and like I said, this one has, you know, 16, 17, 18 or so on here. So here we go. We're going to take this long walk as far as we can go, and there's some interesting things I'll show you guys down at the other end. Most of what you guys have seen thus far is the coaches. If you look at this, most of the coaches are to the right and sleepers to the left. There's still some coaches down here, but most of what's up front is the coach section. There's still a few here. What you guys will notice over there is those are special carrier trailers for motorcycles, that they'll load these special trailers. They put the motorcycles on those trailers there, and they'll take those little tractors that you see there, and they'll use those to load them onto the auto carriers. I believe we have about 24 auto carriers today on the back. That's what one Amtrak employee told me. So looks like we got about 24 auto carriers behind, roughly. So, but again, we're only about halfway down through the superliners, and you can see how far down there it is to get to the front, and then we still got all of that to go. But here's some interesting, neat facts about the auto train for those of you who are not familiar with it. Those of you can read this. This is says Amtrak's auto train. Did you know that Amtrak has provided this service since 1983? It is the longest passenger train in the world, over 3/4 of a mile in length, with 18 passenger cars, 33 auto carriers, and 2 engines. It transports over 130,000 automobiles and 250,000 passengers per year. It carries 650 passengers and 330 automobiles on a full train. So there you have it, folks. You can pause the screen if you would like to look at these details. And if you can hear behind me, you can hear they're doing a brake test. Have you ever looked on the side of a train, down the side of a train, and you've seen those green lights there, and sometimes they're yellow? Those are brake indicator lights to let you know if the brakes are either set or released. We should be having some cars get loaded sometime the next few seconds. I'll show you guys that. The employees you see there with the polo shirts, with the burgundy polo shirts and the gray or black slacks, they are the ones who take the cars, and then they load them onto the auto carriers, and then they jog or walk or even run back to be there waiting to get the next car, because this is the longest part of the process here, is making sure that you get all the cars loaded, because after they get all these cars loaded, they only have like 5 tracks with the auto carriers, and then they have to take the switch engine and put all of those different those 5 sections together in a specific order, and then put them on the back of the auto train, and that's a process. So they try to expedite it by making sure that they have plenty people there waiting when you arrive to take the car and to get them loaded as safely, as efficiently as possible. So let me see if I can get a count, at least from this point. We've got this is the 8th car, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Looks like it's 15 Superliners. And this is car 5342. Let's see if we can find the car I'm in. Oh, wow, well looky there, I found it. This is the car that my fiance and I are in. We are in 5340. Here I can give you guys a close-up look of the auto carriers. This is not like your traditional auto carriers. These are newer ones that are completely enclosed. There's no little spaces or gaps in between the side panels so that you can see if there's cars in there or not. It is completely enclosed. Up, and this section is beginning to leave. So my guess is this section is probably going to be either the first section put on the train or either the last. It's the first section put on the train, meaning it's going to be right next to the consists of Superliners, because it's the switch engine is taking it out now. So it'll be on the either the very, very tail end of the train, or it'll be right next to the consist. So as far as all the auto carriers, this section will either be the front or the rear. I'm not sure just yet how the order is, but we'll see in a minute when he takes this section out, which is 5 cars. If he goes back and picks up another cut, then this section will be the very, very rear of the train. If he brings those 5 cars and attaches them to the rear here of the passenger consist, then that section will be the first in the auto carriers. They've got it down to a science. These guys do this every day, twice a day. They do this when the train comes in, and they do it again for the southbound run when the train leaves out heading south to Florida. And it's a pretty unique process that they have here. It's pretty thorough, and it's pretty efficient. This train typically leaves a few minutes early, sometimes a half an hour, even 45 minutes early. They can do that with this one because it doesn't make any scheduled stops. So you don't run the risk of getting to a station too early, because there's no station to get to early and have to wait on time. This train essentially is an express train. It doesn't make but one stop in the middle of the night, and that is to change the crew and the fuel and to service the cars. And then that's in the middle of the night at Florence, I believe it's Florence, South Carolina. And then from there it's non-stop right into Florida. So essentially this is an express train. And here we they're loading the trailers with the motorcycles. And we are about to board. So I'll take you guys through that process, but first I have to get my luggage. Folks, here we are. It is boarding time. I am in car 5340 and we are about to board. These are our bedroom accommodations. Here's our bathroom and the shower. Nice and cozy. And this is our upper berth. And this folds down, this couch folds down into a bed. It's very, very spacious. Then over here we have a mirror and sink and closet. Here we got a room temperature control there, outlets there, outlets across on that side. We got a trash receptacle there. We got fresh linen towels there. We got some sanitary items here, toilet paper and sanitary napkins. We've got soap bar here and cups. Some more cups here. Some fresh linen that's been put out. And yeah, this is our room. We have a little day seating chair there. It's a table. This folds out into a table here. And this is our attendant call button. That's the ceiling light. And this is the audio setting for the speaker system in the room. If you don't want to hear the announcements made, you can turn it to a different channel, or like such, music playing. And this is for the volume for that. So then we have reading live, and yeah, so it's a little shelf here. So it's very, very neat. The coat hooks there, air control there, or vent. Pretty neat. So we are getting ready to leave shortly, and I'll be back with you guys.
You had last night. If anyone makes a mistake putting anything other than toilet paper in the toilet, and I repeat, anything other than toilet paper in the toilet, tomorrow morning you will be many things, but being happy won't be one of them. The toilets operate on a vacuum system, and if one of them gets clogged, it clogs almost instantly, and all of them in your car will then clog. It is an incredibly frustrating experience, and it's one that is easily avoidable, but when you've traveled long distances to get here, and especially after you've had dinner, fatigue will typically sit in. Take your time, try to have that mental reminder that paper towels, plastics, small cups, everything other than toilet paper gets disposed of in the waste containers located either in the restroom area or those located in the general hallway.
13 car, you have a late arrival. 13 car, late arrival.
If you are riding on the upper level, rooms A through N as in Nancy, two things to be aware of. There is a 3-inch water retaining feature built into the lower level of your shower/restroom area.
Crew chief to the IC, please. Crew chief to the IC, please.
It can become a tripping hazard if you don't look down anytime you're stepping into or out of the restroom. Also, but in those same rooms, located beneath the sink is a waste container. It has a spring-loaded door on it, and what we try to do is to have the item that we're throwing away in one hand and use the other free hand to hold that trap door open so that it doesn't harm your knuckles. Let's talk for a moment about where the coffee station is in your car. And for the record, you're riding in the 40 car. Centrally located on the upper level adjacent to the staircase is the coffee station. You should find everything you need there, coffee, teas, and all the necessary ingredients to prepare the way you like it. When you are facing the coffee machine, there's
Tell you what, it's a great view from the
knee level or
That's how you see your car?
Yeah.
I'm headed back that way.
All right, cool.
Pull out feature. The scoop that you'll need to use each time.
That is the last set of auto carriers being moved out and into position to be loaded on the rear of this train. This is the already put together set waiting for us to pull forward, and then it'll be loaded onto the rear of this train. So any moment, once our loading is complete, we'll pull forward. We have about 5 auto carriers currently on the rear, and then once we pull up and clear the switch, they will add what you see out the window there to the rear of those 5. And I think we're heading down south today with about 25 or so cars roughly. And the mileage of this trip is actually 855 miles. We are off and rolling, folks. As you guys can see, it is storming out there. It is, I don't know if this is considered torrential rain, but it's pretty darn close. I mean, it's pretty bad out there. It's lightning and thundering. So, but we've, for the past probably 30-40 minutes, we've been at track speed. We've been 70 miles an hour, so it obviously hasn't affected us. At some point, I would suspect that the visibility gets down, they'll probably put a speed restriction on us. But as of yet, I mean, we're slowing down a little bit now, but we've been at track speed, 70 miles an hour. I just checked this on the radar, so just an update for you guys. Okay guys, we're back at it. We're on board, we're about to do a trip. I'm about to walk down to the front of the train. But I was telling you guys about the slack that's in this train and how in between the cars that there's a gap because the slack, this train typically stays stretched the entire time. So it's pretty loud in here, but I give you guys a quick look at what it looks like in between the cars because the cars are stretched because of the weight that the auto carriers on the rear provide. They provide a lot of resistance, so the trains pretty much stay stretched the entire time. So I'll give you guys a quick peek inside so you guys can see. It's gonna be a little loud though. There you have it. You can see the gap in between there. The cars are not actually even touching as far as the diaphragm when you walk through. There's a gap in between there, and it depends on how much throttle the engineers have at the time. That gap, you know, widens in a lot of places. But as we go through the train, I'll show you guys more about that. that was the first coach that you get to on the train, which is, by the way, the Oregon coach. But yeah, as you guys can see there, this is the rearmost coach on the train, and that is the first sleeper, the Oregon. As you guys can see, there's a pretty interesting consistency with the gaps in between each cars. That lets you know that the train is fully stretched due to the weight of the auto carriers that's on the rear. Like I said, we're heading forward now. This is the first coach that's on the train, and this train, handles like a freight train. It stays pretty much stretched the entire time, especially at speeds, because of the resistance that the auto carriers on the rear have, the effect that they have on the resistance of this train. Well, we're making our way forward, and what I'll do periodically is I'll cut the camera off if we're passing a bunch of people, or like if we're in the diner or something like that. I don't want to film those people while they're eating, or I want to be able to respect people's privacy. So I'm giving you guys a tour as much as I can, show you as much as I can without imposing on the privacy and the comfort of the other passengers on board. As I said, and as you can see, the gap is pretty consistent, and it's car after car after car after car. The entire train is stretched out because of, like I said, the auto carriers on the rear. So it's pretty unique as opposed to what you would commonly see in passenger train service. The slack after a certain speed runs out, but on this one, the train tends to stay stretched the entire time, which, by the way, makes for a pretty smooth departure, because you don't feel that any jerking, because the train is stretched. It just accelerates out pretty smoothly without any jerking or anything like that. Only time you feel any jerking or anything like that, any type of jerking, pushing motion, is when it comes to braking. Then you'll feel kind of the push from the auto carriers from the rear, all of that weight will give kind of a little push. But other than that, the train pretty much stays in a stretched state the entire time in motion. Yeah, I know.
Okay, English. Okay. All right. I don't
when you step off the train that you step onto the yellow colored platform. Also, if your accommodation is located on the upper level, please use care as you use the stairwells. We wish you a safe journey as you continue to your final destination, and do hope that we have the pleasure of serving you again in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, we do apologize for the delay, and we hope it does not inconvenience any of your travel plans. We were doing good while we were coming along till we got to that bridge. We were supposed to get in right on time, but we got to the bridge and the bridge would not close, and we lost a little bit of time over there. So once again, we do apologize for the delay, and we hope it does not inconvenience any of your travel plans. Thank you, and welcome to Sanford, Florida.
In just a few minutes, you'll see the other half of the train be positioned across the platform from where we are. As soon as that happens and their brakes are set, that's probably a good indication that we can then leave. So hang in your accommodations about 5 more minutes and we should be ready to depart. Thank you.
We are waiting for our vehicle. They're offloading it. Should be one of the next couple cars to get priority offloading. We got in here about 45 or so minutes late, but here's the other passengers waiting for their vehicle. And we are the second vehicle pulling up. They got this, as I said before, they got this process down to a science where they have the drivers go on to the auto carriers and drive them all in order so that the passengers can hear their number and then walk right up. So we're next. There's the second section of the auto train split. Actually, the first section of the consist is right here. The second section is actually on the other track adjacent to this, but here is the first section of the auto train. They split the train in two because the platform is not long enough for the 15, 16 cars. And to your right here, we have the rest of the auto carriers that are being positioned for the unloading of the automobiles. So the switch engine is pulling back and forth. You can see him there. It's pulling back and forth to position the auto carriers. So yeah, that's the conclusion of our trip from Lorton, Virginia to Sanford, Florida on Amtrak's Auto Train. Make sure that you guys subscribe. Those of you who are currently subscribed, make sure you turn on your post notifications so that you get notified when I upload new content, new videos. I'm gonna try to do better about uploading videos. If you notice on my channel, there's pretty unique content, and I want to stick to unique content, not the typical rail videos, but very unique content for you guys. Those of you who are not YouTube or internet tech savvy, make sure that you just check the channel regularly so that you can see if I uploaded any new videos. Oh, by the way, check out all of my other videos, because I'm sure there's probably some videos that you haven't seen that you'll probably like, those of you who haven't seen any of my other videos. But make sure that you subscribe, check my channel regularly, give this video a thumbs up, a like, make a comment, leave a comment below, a question, suggestion, leave it in the comment box below. Make sure that you share this video with those that you know would enjoy it and appreciate it. And yeah, until next time.